Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if this is the first time that you have watched one of my videos. I'm so thankful that you decided to spend a little bit of time with me today, and today I think I have a pretty fun video. It is another yarn review. I really enjoy yarn reviews because even though everybody's opinion is different on yarn and what they prefer, it still is good to see some of those things that we all kind of have questions on and what people think about them. So some of the things I like to talk about in my yarn reviews are, of course, the appeal of the yarn, or, does it draw your attention? The colorways, the price point for the yardage that you get, as well as how easy is it to work with? Is it a strain on your hands? How soft is it? The breakability. So, a lot of yarns have a tendency to break. How many knots are within the skein? Just all those different things. So I'm going to try to touch on all of that today, and I hope that you enjoy and find this video helpful. So the yarn that I'm talking about today is the Premier Fable Yarn. This is a pretty new yarn by Premier. Recently, I did a Premier yarn haul and talked about how they have really become one of my favorite yarn brands. I do wish that it was more accessible because they do have a couple options at Dollar Tree, but it is very limited, and they really have great yarn and I think a pretty good price point for what you get. So I have really come to love Premier's yarn. So this is the Premier Fable, and like I said, it's pretty new, and it is a 90% acrylic, 10% polyester blend. It is a number 6 super bulky yarn. It is 131 yards, and it at this point in time is $8.99. So I think, $8.99 isn't the best price, but I feel like it is a better price than what you are going to get at, say, like Michael's for something of this comparability. I don't know if that's the right word, for a comparable yarn. So I think most of their price points are like $9.99 up to $12.99 for something like this. So I do think it is a better price point than some other stores for comparable yarn. But for the yardage, it's still kind of high because the Premier Parfait Chunky, it is a little bit smaller even though they're both classified as a 6. This is 131 yards as well, and these are only like $4.99. So I guess because of the colorway and then of course the blend, so this yarn has like a polyester, or I guess the 90% acrylic, of course, would be like the yarn itself, and then the little thread that's woven around the yarn would be like the polyester, because that's the 10%, I'm guessing. So it has this unique look to it, and so it causes the yarn to be a bit wavy. So, where the thread is cinched onto the yarn, it just creates some texture. So these are all striping yarns. I have 5 of them here that I purchased, and I want to say they were maybe about 8 colors, give or take 1 or 2. So a decent selection, and I really liked that their colorways were pretty unique. So the one I have here is called Elf, and because it's Fable yarn, they have sort of like more fantastical like names, like for like different fantasy type creatures and things that you would have, like mythological stuff, I guess. So I really like this colorway, and at first it really confused me. Well, it still kind of confuses me of why this one is called Elf, because to me it looks more of like a fall Halloween type colorway. But then I noticed that there is some bright pink in here. I did not notice that at first. I thought it was just like the green, purple, orange, and the cream color. So I love that pop of pink. It still doesn't remind me of like Elf. I don't really know why that is, but it's fine. It's just a color name. But I thought this was a pretty unique colorway, especially with that pop of pink. Then you have Fairy. So this one is just different shades of pinks. Really pretty. And then I have the color Pegasus. So pinks, oranges, purples, turquoise. And then I have this color, which is Nessie. And I really love those blues. I mentioned in my haul video that I want to make a hat for my 6-year-old out of this. And then the yarn that I chose to work with for this video, I made a little project with it, is the color Unicorn. So this one, I think the name matches really well. It has pinks, aqua, yellow, purple, 2 different shades of purple. So I think this is a really nice colorway. So I will put in a little picture or something like that of all the colorways real quick so you can see those. Okay, and then as for squishability, it's a very squishy yarn. So I don't know if y'all remember, but a few years ago, maybe about 3 years ago, Loops and Threads by Michaels came out with a yarn that looked extremely similar to this. The only difference is it didn't have that thread wove around it, but it was a thick, wavy, textured yarn. If anyone remembers the name of that yarn, let me know, because I tried to see if I had any, because I know I had bought a skein and made a hat out of it. So actually, I'm gonna go see if I can find that hat real quick, because at least you can see what it looks like worked up. Okay, so here is the hat that I made using that yarn that I was talking about. I wish you could see more of what it looked like not worked up, but immediately when I saw the Fable yarn, it reminded me of this yarn. I will say, if you tried that yarn that they had a couple years ago, this yarn is much softer than this. This has a little, I mean, this is soft. I'm not saying it's not soft, but it definitely is noticeably less soft than this. They both have kind of that fuzzy texture. I'm not sure if you can see that, but they have a different feel to them. And then of course with that polyester thread running through there, it adds like another kind of dimension to the color, which I really like. And it kind of brings all the colors together, if that makes sense. I also really enjoy the colorways of this yarn better than that one. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like a lot of us tried that when it came out a couple years ago, because it ended up being on a really good sale. So I feel like a lot of us purchased that. Again, if you can remember the name of it, let me know. So this is a very soft yarn. I really enjoy the striping that this creates. I feel like the amount of stripes, like the width of the stripes that you get with this, which of course that would depend on the project, but I guess what I'm trying to say is how much they've included of each color. It's a very even amount, so they did a really good job of getting the same amount of each color, but I really enjoyed the color changes that happened with this, which I will show you more of that once I show you my project here in just a second. But again, just to the way it feels, very soft, love the colorways, decent price point, could be a little bit better, I guess, on that, but not too bad. So yeah, let me go on and show you the project that I made. So I knew I wanted to do this video today, and I didn't have anything worked up yet, so I tried to find a really quick and easy pattern. This is a pattern off Pinterest. It's this little octopus, and I feel like octopi are my go-to thing for quick and easy amigurumi because they are so quick and easy to make. This is a no-sew pattern that I got off of Pinterest. I will link it in the description if you're interested. It was very, very easy, very beginner friendly. And so one thing that I was glad about is this pattern was just enough to use all of the colorways. So this guy, you know, whenever you use a striping yarn on amigurumi, you never know exactly how it's going to turn out. So for example, this is not a striping yarn, but you know, whenever you use fun colors that do, I guess it is sort of a striped yarn because you can see the stripes here, but you know, I like fun and kind of funky looking stuff. And then I also like to do things that are more uniform, like this one's pretty colorful too. You know, I like to do stuff like this as well. But sometimes it's just fun to use a striping yarn that you just have no clue how it's going to turn out. You can use the same skein of yarn. So like if I was to make another one of these with this yarn, it would turn out completely different as far as the colors. So I enjoy that. I don't love how it has the yellow up here for the majority of this little guy. The part you can't see is there is more purple here. And so it did use every color within the skein, which I'm happy about. But if I was to make another one, I would hope that the yellow was more like in the tentacles or more down here, because it looks kind of funny now that I'm looking at it. And I used some like sparkly, they're supposed to be sparkly eyes, but I don't know if you can see the sparkle on there or not. So he kind of looks, or she, I don't know, looks kind of funky, but you know, it's cute. So you can see how the color transitions are though. The only transition again that I didn't like, I would have honestly preferred if this yellow was just left out of the skein, but that's just a personal preference. I would have liked to see maybe another shade of pink or another shade of like this color. But you know, that's just personal preference. So as far as how did I like the way that it worked up in the project, doing a magic ring with amigurumi is always gonna kind of tell how easy the yarn is to work with, because for example, like my favorite yarn to make amigurumi out of, the Parfait Chunky by Premier, you have to be really loose with your magic ring until you pull it, or else the yarn will break. With this, I had absolutely no issue at all. So I didn't have to worry about that. And I just want to show you while I'm talking about that, how hard it is to break this yarn. So this is a yarn that is extremely sturdy, and Premier actually has a free pattern on their website for a tote bag using this yarn. And I think that that would be an amazing project for this yarn, and I think that's actually what I'm gonna do with the rest of this yarn other than that blue for my son's hat, because it is extremely tough, extremely durable. It would take an excessive amount of force to break this yarn, so much that I do not want to even try that hard because it's gonna hurt my hands. So that is a good thing. And also, if you could feel this, you would feel the sturdiness of this pattern. Like it just holds up really well. So a tote bag would be perfect for this yarn. So let me see if it's machine wash and dryable. I didn't mention that. Machine wash cold, tumble dry low heat. So yes, it is. So if you want a good solid like blanket that has some weight to it, I think this would be great for that as well. I also think it would be great for a warm snuggly scarf, and also I think it'd be amazing for a cardigan, like a bulkier, like I'm thinking granny hexagon cardigan. I think it would be great for that. So this was really enjoyable to work with. As far as how did I enjoy working with it, I really enjoyed it. It didn't strain my hands too much. My hands got, this hand, my right hand got a little achy, which that just happens to me when I work with yarn that's bigger or really small, just I guess because of the way I hold my hook. But it is nothing like the Bernat blanket. I can barely use Bernat blanket anymore because it just hurts my hands so bad to use it, because it kind of drags on the hook. That's my personal opinion. Again, everybody's different with that. I did use a 6.5mm hook. This is a clover hook. And I didn't have, you know, the yarn didn't necessarily like glide on the hook like the Parfait Chunky would, but it didn't like catch on the hook either. It was just kind of a good, I could crochet pretty fastly, and so I didn't really have any issues with that. Again, a little bit of hand cramping just because it is a bigger yarn that I'm used to working with, but overall was very enjoyable to work with. Another thing that I wanted to mention was frogging. This frogs extremely, extremely easily. I wasn't sure, you know, sometimes when you have yarn like this that has like a thread woven around it, it can kind of get tangled up. And so I had no issues at all frogging the yarn. I had to do that several times. As far as knots go in the skein, of course, I can't speak really well to that because I only used a little bit of a skein of it so far, but as I'm kind of feeling through this, you don't really notice any knots or anything. I didn't have a knot in this yarn, but I did have like an area where it was kind of like puffed out just a little bit, but it was no issue. You can't even tell in the project. It was, let me show you kind of the end of the yarn. So as you can see here, it holds together pretty well when you cut it, but when you thread it, it comes apart pretty easily. And so that was one of my issues. Instead of using a traditional like yarn needle, I used one of those Susan Bates brand that looks kind of like a canoe, I guess you would kind of say. Like, it's completely open in the middle and has pointy ends on both sides. I'm not sure exactly what those are called, but I found that that worked a lot better because I had issues, you know, when I was trying to stick this into the eye of the yarn needle, it was spreading out like this. So to use the one where you could just stick it right in the middle of that big opening, that helped a lot. I hope that that makes sense. So I think that I covered just about everything that I wanted to with this yarn. So last thing, would I recommend this yarn? Definitely. If you enjoy this type of yarn. I feel like this yarn is not for everybody. Not everybody is going to enjoy a really bulky yarn. Now this of course is not the bulkiest of yarns you could get, but it is a bigger yarn than I'm used to working with. Even though it's classified as a 6, it is bulkier. You can even tell by skein size, and I've already used some of this one, the difference. They're the same amount of yards, but this skein was a lot bigger. Here's one that I haven't used yet. So you can see it is a bulkier yarn. But I would highly recommend it. If you like yarns like this, if you like fun self-striping colorways, I think that it would be a great yarn for you. Again, the only way to order this is through Premier's website, which is a big downfall for me. I really, really wish that we could get Premier yarns, a bigger selection anyway, in some of our local craft stores. So maybe that'll happen at some point, but so that kind of knocks off a couple points for me just because you have to get it online. But I would definitely recommend it. I would say out of 10 crochet hooks, I would give it about a 7, which is a really good rating for me. So softness, great. The fact that you can machine wash it is great. The colorways are unique. It's durable. It's soft. I think it's a great yarn for people who enjoy this type of yarn. So if you are interested in trying this type of yarn and haven't before, I think that this is a great one to go with. If you would like to get your hands on some of this, I recently became a affiliate with Premier Yarns. So I will put a link to this yarn in the description, and if you click on that link, it helps support my channel. I get a very small commission off of that. And I would also recommend to sign up for Premier's rewards program, because with that, as you order, you accumulate points and you can get, you know, amounts off of your future orders. So that is something I definitely recommend if you are interested in any of Premier's yarns. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that this video was helpful to you if you've been on the fence about ordering this. I hope that I helped clarify some of the things about this yarn. I try to go pretty in depth with these reviews, so I hope that you enjoyed that. So today I wanted to do a little bit something different. I've been reading a book for quite a while. I've read a little bit of it at a time, but it's a book by Jen Wilkin called In His Image. This is the first book that I've ever read by her, but a lot of my friends really enjoy her books, and I definitely want to get another one, and I would highly recommend this book for sure. This one is 10 Ways God Calls Us to Reflect His Character. And I was going to read a Bible verse out of here for you today, but I'm actually going to read this little section in the chapter called God Most Wise, and she talks about the difference between worldly wisdom and godly wisdom. And so I just wanted to read this little section for you. And if you didn't know, if you're new to my channel, I like to read a Bible verse or a few Bible verses at the end of my video. I spend just a couple minutes reading those and kind of talking about it. So I hope that you enjoy it. So this says, worldly wisdom self-promotes. Godly wisdom elevates others. Worldly wisdom seeks the highest place. Godly wisdom seeks the lowest place. Worldly wisdom avoids the mirror of the word. Godly wisdom submits to the mirror of the word. The word being like God's word, the Bible. Worldly wisdom trusts in earthly possessions. Godly wisdom trusts in treasures in heaven. Worldly wisdom boasts. Godly wisdom is slow to speak. Worldly wisdom says trials will crush you. Godly wisdom says trials will mature you. Worldly wisdom says temptation is no big deal. Godly wisdom says temptation indulged leads to death. Worldly wisdom says seeing is believing. Godly wisdom says blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. That's from John 20:29. And the last one, worldly wisdom wields might. Godly wisdom works in meekness. And then she said, simply put, any thought, word, or deed that compromises our ability to love God and neighbor is folly. The worldly wise place themselves in opposition to God, operating from their own perspective of what is best, a perspective that seeks only the best for them. And then it says in the book of James, when he talks about wisdom, James reminds us that it is ours for the asking. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. James 1:5. So it just reminded me the importance of asking for wisdom, not just for knowledge, but for wisdom, for discernment. I feel like wisdom and discernment go together. So I would ask that today you would pray for wisdom along with me, and I pray that you have a great rest of your week. I pray that God blesses you. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you super soon in the next one. Bye.